United Airlines hits back at pilot training diversity. And here's what they had to say. This is a simple flying article, okay? Last week, United Airlines shared that it has helped pledge $1.2 million in scholarship fees to ensure its pilot training school is more diverse. Overall, the United Aviate Academy will train 5,000 new pilots by 2030 with the goal of to have at least 50% of the new students be women or people of color. However, this announcement was met with a mixed reaction, to which the Chicago-based carrier has now responded. Some people voiced that the race and gender shouldn't be a factor in hiring policy. They expressed that qualification should be the key factor. United shared a following on Twitter to clarify the hiring policy. All the highly qualified candidates we accept into the academy, regardless of race or sex, will have met or exceeded the standards we set for admittance. Tom, I'm going to go to you first with this one because I got strong opinions on this one.
I got a very strong opinion on this because there are upstream problems and there are downstream problems. And conservatives like me tend to go upstream. And unfortunately, a lot of my liberal friends tend to do downstream. Here's an upstream and downstream problem. So I'll do metaphor quick. There's a polluted stream. Okay, so we're standing at the end of a polluted stream, and the liberal friend says, we need a multi-trillion-dollar filter to clean the stream, and you're going to pay for it over here. Whereas a conservative goes, wait a minute, why don't we go upstream and find out what's putting the pollution in there? And you find a campsite and you find other things putting crap in the water. So you say, let's stop that. And I think this is an upstream downstream problem. The downstream isn't like in the hiring office that you should be hiring, people that are not as qualified just so you can meet some sort of quota on diversity. I want to say, how do we go upstream and enable more people of color and diverse backgrounds to get into flight school when they're 20 years old? How do we make it attractive, career so people thinking about it can get into flight school? So at the end of the day, people with 5 years of flight school experience and they got their license and multi-engine, they've gone through this whole thing, and now we have a natural diversity because there's a bunch of qualified people from all kinds of backgrounds because we go upstream and we attract them. I'm not big on downstream problems like this. It says at the end of the day, you have to make certain compromises, and I don't think air safety is the place to do it. Should we have more people of color and women in the cockpit? Yes, but let's go upstream and make it attractive for them to go get educated, and they'll compete for the job like everybody else, and they'll be great qualified pilots of all kinds of backgrounds that the average person can feel perfectly great about whoever's flying their plane.
Interesting analogy.
Well
Adam,
said,
what do you
Tom.
think?
The whole time he's talking about upstream and downstream, I'm just thinking of Tom Sawyer, Tom with his just doing his thing. That was on my mind.
Very
I don't
interesting
know. That's where I was
mind you
going
got
there.
Don't mess with me. I'm on a roll.
You're on a roll. So here's where I'm going with this, because I did an episode a couple months ago called "The Nasdaq's Gone Woke," and Ariana Friedman, I believe is her name, is the president of the Nasdaq, and she's basically implementing all these rules within the Nasdaq about diversity and inclusion and how many board members have to be female or of a certain color. And for the most part, she was implementing this throughout the Nasdaq, and it was sort of met with, for the most part, good reviews. Okay, and whether basically, here's my point. I'm all for inclusion and diversity, and when the Nasdaq went woke, I was kind of with that. Here's the flip side of that. I'm all for that until I'm flying on a plane. The only freaking thing I care about is getting to where I'm going safely. This is the one time where I'm just like, I don't give a shit if there's 10,000 white guys and they're all pilots. I could care less about diversity if they all just get me to where I'm going safely. This is the one time where this whole attack on, white people for the most part, I just can't play that game with flying. Just because flying, I mean, look, how many plane crashes have happened over the last 5 years? Like, I don't remember a time other than 9/11 when planes were just going down. Boeing, have you ever done a case study on Boeing? What's happening with them?
I actually did a beer and business conversation with Phil Condit, the ex-CEO of Boeing.
Of course you did.
And he talked about the 737 MAX in that.
So, to me, flying
what
is scary
I'm saying
enough.
is that was an aircraft issue.
Okay.
That was a bad design, and they had that
there's issues that's going on. I mean, the Malaysian
software that in
pilot,
certain
do whatever.
conditions.
So, but flying, especially these days, is such a concern. And you see grown men in planes that just are like scared to fly. The number one thing is making sure the pilots and the planes are safe. This is not the place to start playing the woke game. BBD.
So, okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, the statement is made saying what? That the fact 50% are going to be, new students are going to be women or people of color, right? Okay. Do you know what percentage of Americans are black African Americans?
Probably 13%.
13.4% is the
13
number.
to 16 over the
Okay,
last 20 years.
13.4%,
Yep,
which
yep,
means United Airlines is essentially becoming racist against whites to not hire whites. If you're going to go, this is a mathematical conversation.
Go,
You're like,
go down.
I'm going to
the
go
math
even
more.
deeper for
Yeah.
you. This
With
is
Latinos, females.
This is a
Let him go, let him go.
This is a mathematical conversation they're having here. It's pure math for me, okay? Here's the other thing for you. What percent of OBGYN is men and women 10 years ago? What percentage of OBGYN is men or women 10 years ago?
The last time I went to an OBGYN.
What do you think? I mean, I'm just asking you. What do you think
I
it
would
is,
say
though?
80% men.
You think 80% men? What do you think?
I would think, you say 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
I would say 10 years ago was probably 90% men still.
Okay, it was 57% men. Today it's 55% women. Okay?
Okay.
But it used to be men before. Now it's women. Okay.
Flipped a little bit.
Flipped a little bit.
Nothing
It is
crazy.
what it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm way off
nurses.
there.
Nurses.
okay.
What percentage of nurses, according to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, are men today? What percentage of nurses are men today? Male. What percentage?
Like a male
30,
nurse.
30%?
Like
Nurse.
like a Gaylord Fokker.
Yeah, what percentage are nurses?
I'm gonna go with 30.
30. What do you think? According, by the way, pull it up. What percentage
Yeah,
are men? What do you think it is?
I would say 10, 20 years ago, I would say 80-20, female to male. I would say it's closer
There you
to
go.
60-40 now.
Watch the number here. Pull it up. According to 12% are
Okay.
men today.
We're not even, none of us are even close.
Only 12% are men today,
okay.
nurses. Are we going out there saying this is racist? This is sexist? Why are only 12% men? And by the way, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was only 2.7%. I think it
Okay.
says 1970 was 2.7%, right? So the point is, this is not about, you ever force somebody to do something? What happens to them when you force someone to do something? Do they like it? Do people like force?
No, not at all.
They don't like it. United Airlines trying to force people to want to be pilots. Dude, I don't want to be a pilot. Well, what if I'm a woman and I don't want to be a pilot? It's force. It's mathematically not the right direction to go. And quite frankly, to me, United Airlines is being racist against people. This is not, you cannot win in this argument. There is no winning in this argument. There's no way you can win in an argument like this. You sit there and say, hey, you know, I noticed your friends, the percentage of your friends, not enough of them are white, and not enough of them are Asian. And when I grew up, 100% of my friends were Armenian. What does that make me, racist? When I went into the Army and I was at the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, guess what? 80% of them were white and 19% were black. And then it was, you know, you put a little Latino in there, but you pretty much, so majority were white, then it's blacks, then it's Latinos, then it's Asians and the rest. So what, is the military's racist? So you cannot have the same thing be the case in every single industry. It's a couple things you look at here. Now, let's flip it. Let's flip it. And let's just say I did a video the other day for the Armenian community. And the Armenian community video that I did, I called out parents. I call that Armenian parents is what I did. Flat out. I said, Armenian parents I'm talking to, and I spoke in Armenian. And I rarely do this. I don't do Armenian videos. So they say, can you please speak in Armenian? Because people wonder if you speak Armenian or not. I said, I speak a little bit Armenian, but it's street Armenian. I don't speak like Armenian, proper Armenian. So I spoke to Armenian.
Can we get a sample? I'd love to hear
I
it.
said, I'd like to speak to the parents. And then I said, you know, mama, papa, I want to talk to you guys about what you're doing with your kids today, raising them, right?
Got it.
I said, stop telling your kids that unless they become doctors, lawyers, dentists, attorneys, they're not successful. Stop saying that to your kids.
There you go.
Stop saying that they have to be a doctor, lawyer, dentist, okay? You know what it does? It creates the pressure for the kid to be a what? Something he doesn't want to be. I had a girl at UCLA Medical Center. She was, what do you call the doctors that's for eye? What's the
Ophthalmologist?
Ophthalmologist. So she sits there, Persian girl, beautiful girl. I said, well, how long you been doing this for? 15 years. How do you like your job? She said, can I close the door? I said, yeah, sure. She closed the door. I hate my job. Then why you been doing it for 15 years? Because I make too much money that I can't leave. Why'd you become an ophthalmologist? To make my parents happy. To make my parents happy. I am miserable. She went on a 10-minute rant. I was doing an executive health stuff that this guy recommended me to do at UCLA Tom. She went on a 10-minute rant about how much she hates my job, and then she says, Let me check your eyes.
How your eyes, by the way?
After she said, it is what it is. It depends on the day.
I can't see nothing right now.
So,
Let me get some
so the
tequila.
point is to force people to do something they don't want to do. Flip it. Let me go now the other side of the argument. Okay, so take any nationality. Any nationality. Like when I talk to the Jewish community, I'm like, why do Jewish folks typically, you know, they get judged for doing well financially? Oh, because you guys are cheap. What does that really mean? When you say Jews are cheap, what do you mean by Jewish people are cheap? Why are you guys cheap? Why is it in your blood? Is your blood DNA like type C, and it's what cheap? Is that what the blood type is, or is it because when you were raised in a church in a whatever you went synagogue, your family? The thing is, save your money, do this, be frugal. Maybe the values that were taught that you were growing up had to do with that, right? Okay, maybe the Middle Eastern community has to encourage more entrepreneurship. Maybe the Black African American community, they need to teach folks to want to go into business more. I don't know. Maybe become, like I was in Chicago one time doing an event at Ritz-Carlton, and I walked in. No joke. I walked in. 2,000 sharp Black African American kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, okay? Looking like $1 million, guys and girls. I said, what's going on over here? We are part of this lawyer, whatever, future lawyers, Black Lawyers of America. I said, you got to be kidding me. No. Where did the inspiration come for this? Barack Obama.
Get out of here.
Fantastic. I love that because that is like you're encouraging to go out there and want to become lawyers.
There you go.
Are people waking up saying, hey, son, I want you to grow up and be a pilot? No one says go be a pilot. A kid becomes a pilot because almost every person that's a pilot, they're a pilot because their parent was a pilot or because they're like, I love playing with these planes, and what if one day you don't force somebody to become a pilot? They choose to become a pilot. So this is a publicity stunt that makes them look like fools is what it does for United Airlines to make a comment like that here's what we're going to do moving forward. Go study math and study data. It doesn't work in your favor. And it's quite offensive when you say, here's what we're going to do moving forward. How about the rest of us? How about the rest of us when you say something like that? No, I don't like their marketing approach they took, and quite frankly, it's just to try to get some people to say, oh, they are very diverse today and they're willing to work with everybody. They don't work too well for me.
But there's something that really had me revved up recently is Bailey's thinking about colleges, looking around and doing her research, and she's looking at Yale, she's looking at Penn, she's looking at Vanderbilt and things like this. She's got the grades. And I'm like, you study what you want to study, so we can do a whole discussion about that. I'm not directing her one way or the other. I'm just saying whatever you study in college, make it useful. I'm not going to pay for you to go to France and study, the history of art. I don't know what you would do with that. If you really want to do that, we can talk. But we stumbled onto this, PBD. Very, very interesting. Yale was suddenly, she's studying, she Googles Yale admissions. There's this massive lawsuit where Caucasians and Asians were saying that Yale was so horribly overcompensating that they were actually discriminating against Caucasians and Asians having anything close to a fair shot to get into the school. And so they took them to court. Yale on you can't prove that we did it. You can't prove that we really conspired among the admissions committee. There's no emails. There's not that. You can't prove we conspired. And they said, what are you talking about? Look at these people that got in. Look at the diversity of that. Look who didn't get in, and let's go look at test scores, and let's look at capabilities and achievement. Now, there's a place for scholarship, and there's a place to get people to step up. But what they don't want to talk about is that a lot of these kids that got in so that Yale could say, we are so diverse, we are wondering. So Yale gets the marketing, right? Yale gets social pressure off their back because, hey, we're being diverse. And guess what happens? A higher percent of those kids are flunking out at the end of sophomore year with big student loans because Yale's not cheap and they were not there on 100% scholarships. Get it? So now Yale gets the merit badge, but you actually do somebody a non-favor at times when you open doors like
pressure.
this.
It's pressure to act like you are all-inclusive, and it backfires on you because you piss somebody off. Look, in our company...
I'm saying it backfires on some of these people that were admitted.
Of course it does.
These poor people now have giant student loans.
Look at our company. Look at our company like insurance company, PHP. Okay, we're 50% Latino, okay? We just are. It's like, okay, we're 50% Latino. Then we're 25% African-American. Our Caucasian is 13%. What am I going to do? Do we make that up? That sound in the background, I hear something that's coming up. I don't know what that is. Okay, can you guys hear it or not? It went away for a second, but do you still hear it or no?
I do.
Is it
Now
still
it's gone.
there?
It's gone. It's
Okay.
gone.
So you look at how did this happen? Did I say, here's what the percentage needs to be? This is what this needs to be. Or did we just become like that? Because and I'm from Iran. So I'm Middle Eastern. I'm Christian. I'm Armenian. I'm Assyrian. How did I attract Latinos? How did I attract? It's just the culture of the company that this took. Now, by the way, the industry is what percentage?
70% white, I would say, maybe even
The
more.
average agent is a 59-year-old white male.
Yeah.
You go to the traditional insurance industry, everyone's white. You know, okay, it's a multicultural. That's what happened to us because that's what we talked about. We would like to be a multicultural company. Somebody in here said, two people said F Obama, and another person said, yeah, you know, F Obama. I don't subscribe to that mindset. By the way, politically, philosophically, we are on complete opposite ends. By the way, and I will say right now today, as crazy as this sounds, Barack Obama today is more like John F. Kennedy than he was 15 years ago. Barack Obama is not the Barack Obama of 2005. Barack Obama is not the Barack Obama of 2010. Barack Obama today, ever since he started getting paid, and he's going to have a life to live for another 40 years, he's starting to realize we can't just tax everybody. Today's Barack Obama is a different Barack Obama 10 years ago. But go back and say F Obama. I applaud competitors who think long term. And for Republicans who get upset and they say F Obama, no, F your strategies is what I say. Your strategies suck. Why don't you get together and put some good strategies together? Because Democrats are out strategizing you. Correct. And it pisses you off. Go get pissed off about the strategies you're putting together rather than getting pissed off at somebody else on the opposing that's doing a better job than you. You got to salute your competitors. It's simple as that. Rather than getting upset at the competitor, you got to say what? Salute. I respect you. I've lost throughout my career. God knows how many times I've lost. And I've sat there and said, damn, more power to them. Good for them. Let's sit down and look and see what we're doing here wrong that they're doing right. Maybe we can learn from it. That's the one part that sometimes politically people become blinded. Oh, F Trump. Oh, F Obama. Oh, nope. Strategy. Take a step back and look what's going on. And quite frankly, I just don't like United Airlines strategy. We had somebody that just commented. I want to read her comment. She just gave $5 and she said, Julia Swenson. She says, you can't pick and choose. Everything should be based on qualifications. I don't want to be hired anywhere because I'm a girl. It's ridiculous. That's what Julie just said, right? Then Kevin gave $5 and he says, question number 1, should there be any diversity requirement in companies? And number 2, shouldn't we focus on skill, experience, and character when hiring? Okay, let's answer each question. Should there be any diversity requirement for companies? What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think companies should have to prove that they have a non-discriminatory open door to receive anyone of any background so that the selection process can be completed. I think there has to be.
There has to be?
Yeah,
a must?
I think there must be. Look, are you letting anyone, show up at the front door? As a matter of fact, Google did something very interesting. You know what they did? They took names and cities off resumes, and they had hiring managers looking at the resumes, and guess what they found out? They found out that they had a more neutral selection process. That there was I
love that.
There were little things in the back of people's mind that were thinking about, oh, this person comes from Daly City. I wonder if they went to a good college. I wonder where they come from. Whereas this one came from, it was in Atherton, then went to Stanford. Oh, must be a really smart person. So they took a lot of this stuff off, and also they did a little ethnic analysis, Lashika Jones, it has a cultural connotation to it that you might assume. When they took all that out, they got more neutralness. I think companies should be held to, are you allowing every person regarding a background, their resume, to get in and be part of the filtering process? Are you allowing that to happen? And so then from there, do you show that you have a fair and reasonable, this is our criteria, we need a pilot. Pilot has to have this many hours in the sky, has to have this. And then we evaluate how many of these people have that. We'll take the best one, and if it happens to be a white guy, it's a white guy. It happens to be a Hispanic woman, it's a Hispanic woman.
Just to build on what you're saying, qualification should be the first and foremost factor when hiring.
I fully agree.
Then there's other factors.
Yeah.
Race, sex, all that kind of stuff like that. So I'll give you a couple different examples.
Raise Adam by 5%. Okay. Go ahead, keep going.
Here we go, 5%. I'll just speak into the mic. Well, in the NFL, they have something called the Rooney Rule. You're familiar with the Rooney Rule? That basically every NFL team, when they're looking for a candidate, has to consider hiring a black candidate. It's the Rooney Rule. So when you have Mike Tomlin that got his job, who basically was the youngest coach to ever win a Super Bowl for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He potentially, a decade or so ago, before he got the job, wouldn't have been in the running, so to speak. But now, because of the Rooney Rule, they had to interview a black candidate. He turned out to be a great candidate. Point is, that's just the Rooney Rule in the NFL, where, I don't know, Kai, if you want to pull it up, Rooney Rule, an NFL team has to consider within their candidates a black candidate. A couple different things when it comes to qualifications. Now, here's some qualifications. You get percentages of people who are nurses. You get percentage of people who different jobs. What percentage of male or female are construction workers?
It's night and day.
Exactly.
Sure.
So 99% of...
A guy just commented saying, why don't we have all the women go become bricklayers and see what happens?
Exactly.
50%.
So that's a good point.
Noel Zenterman said, let's make 50% of female bricklayer quota, play their game, and see how long they'll last.
There we go.
Yeah.
What percentage of people are... Okay, so now, obviously, I go out in South Beach. What percentage of bottle servers, waitresses, are men? No, they're 100% female, because when you're buying bottles and you're spending thousands of dollars at the club, you want some hot chicks coming over with sparklers. That's just part of the game. So can a guy bring a bottle over to your table just as well as a female? Yeah, sure. But I don't want 6 dudes rolling up at my table when I'm buying bottles. Bring some chicks over there. That's just the game that we're playing.
Yeah.
So qualifications are great, but then age, sex, color, that is a factor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so let me give you some data. Hockey. What percentage of hockey players are black?
1%, 2%.
It's 5%, 43.
Really?
That's actually
good for them.
Yeah,
I did.
5% of hockey players are black. 43 hockey players are black. Today, 3 of them are for Detroit Red Wings. It's a record. First time ever where one team has 3 of them. They got 3 of them on their team right now.
That's probably just a coincidence.
Okay? NFL, 70% are black. Okay? So now...
What's NBA?
The NBA is probably even a bigger
80%?
number. What percentage of
I'm guessing 80.
NBA players are NBA 74.2%.
Okay.
NBA.
75%.
Okay. So does that make NBA racist?
No, they're just a lot of black people are better than white people at basketball.
Does that make NHL racist?
No.
Does that make NFL racist? NHL is 95% black, 95% white. Is it racist? NBA is 74.2% black. Are they racist? NFL is 70% black. Are they racist against others? No. Here's what it is. Kids are growing up. If you really want to see a change in this, if a black kid is playing with dad, what game is dad playing? Is dad playing hockey? Is dad playing baseball? Dad playing basketball? What's dad playing?
Right.
Whatever that game is. I tell you one thing with me, guess what? You ain't playing if you're my kid. You ain't playing hockey if you're my kid. I have no clue how the hell to play hockey. God knows Dylan could have ended up being one of the greatest hockey players of all time. Dad gets to
With
play.
those calves, he might be something.
He ain't never going to play hockey with daddy.
He could have been the first Armenian, Assyrian,
He's just
Iranian
not.
hockey player
It's just,
in the country.
I'm sorry. He has the wrong father for that
There's
game.
no ice in the
okay?
Middle East is what you're saying?
So the point is, if people want to make a change in any of these areas, it starts off with the top, with the most influential people saying, hey, why don't you consider getting into politics? Why don't you consider getting into business? Why don't you consider getting into real estate? Why don't you consider going and starting some businesses? Why don't you it's that why don't you consider from the top, and the kid typically will be inspired by what that community leader and parents tell them to do. Anyways, we can get away from the story
one quick
unless
thought.
if you guys got final thoughts.
One quick thought. A sport that came to mind while the United States completely just shits the bed for some reason.
Soccer?
Is soccer.
Yeah.
Why the men suck but the women are good? I don't understand that. That's just one thing. But there was a speech. It was a black businessman years ago in front of a group of African-American kids, and he basically broke down the odds of becoming an NBA player. He's basically like, oh, y'all want to get to the NBA? Let me break down some stats for you. There's 500,000 high school basketball players. There's 10,000 college basketball players. There's 500 NBA players. So if you're the one of 500,000 basketball players that play in high school, the chances of you making it to the NBA are 0.00001, whatever. Go become something else. Don't hinge all your dreams on becoming a basketball player. Become an entrepreneur. Become a businessman.
The late Jimmy Valvano talked about that. He said, I was asking these kids, I was talking about graduation. And what do you want to study here at NC State? What do you want to do? And they said, well, I'm going to go to the NBA. I'm going to go to the NBA. So the three recruited freshmen are sitting in his office in the NBA. Do you know that there's only 17? There will be 17 players in the draft that actually are in the NBA after 3 years. Each year in college, there'll be 17 players that are still in the NBA after 3 years. And he says, young men, it's a really amazing day because I just recruited 3 of them here at NC State.
There you go.
And so the point he's trying to make, right? He's trying to make a simple point is that, hey, you know what? You do have that low percentage, but we've gotten far afield. I think, to put a period on it, I think we should be sure that companies are giving everybody a fair shot.
100%.
But it should, and there should be recourse when they're not. But it's got to be, based on skills.
Yeah,
and
you shouldn't hire based on white, black, Latino,
Correct.
Asian, Middle Eastern,
That's
any
right.
of that stuff.
And
Qualifications.
let's go upstream and invest more in schools and to do the things so that kids have more capabilities and more places to go.
I agree. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.